staying tuned to the conversation on Lagos television. We all witnessed what happened in the Federal Capital Territory and some other part of the country on Monday when members of the Take It Back movement staged a protest demanding for the unconditional release of the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, who is facing charges of terrorism and treasonable felony. Of course, he's been in detention for about 5 years now, having it back and forth in the court of law. But the conversation this morning is going to be on the legality of the implication of that protest staged in different parts of the country. Yes, on Monday, we have here with us in the studio, Mr. Jide Ologun is a lawyer and a PR consultant. It's our pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here too.
All right, speak to us on the legality of that protest staged on Monday by members of the Take It Back movement, demanding for the unconditional release of somebody facing terrorism and charges of treasonable felony as well. How legal was that protest by your own understanding?
Thank you very much. By virtue of Section 40 of Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, you have the freedom of association. And of course, under the same constitution, you have freedom of expression and protest. It's part of the fundamental human rights of citizens in the country. But having said that, those rights are also subject to the right of the government to ensure the security of the country. And something happened before the protest. The Inspector General of Police sent legal team from the police force to go and get an ex parte order against the proposed protest. But the court did not grant the order, saying that let it be on notice. And interestingly, the date they were to return was ahead of the planned protest. And the protest took place. And in the course of the protest, some of the participants were arrested because the government is now claiming that they have, incited public disorder. There will always be allegations. And on the order of a magistrate court, they are being held in custodial facility, pending the time their matters will be considered. So by and large, the right to protest is covered by the fundamental human rights.
Okay.
But the extent of
the protest... Not minding the charges that Nnamdi Kanu is facing.
We'll discuss the case of Nnamdi Kanu.
Okay.
We have just
in
isolated
the context of
the protest
here.
Now.
Okay. An addendum to the question Jibola asked you, and also based on your submission that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria gives the leeway for such a gathering. At what point does such a gathering become unlawful?
Thank you very much. At the point where you begin to have breach of public peace. And of course, we started because in trying to repel that movement, tear gas canisters were fired. Many people were scared to go for their businesses. Even the American government cautioned their citizens in the country. So that was a bit of a shaky position for the government. And if you look at Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So, and going back to precedents in the country, you recall the NSAS protest that almost grounded the government in Nigeria. You may not expect that the government would just sit back and say, okay, let them go ahead and protest, because when these protests are taking place, you never can define the extent of the activities. For instance, when the labor movement was demanding the increase of the minimum wage from 30,000 naira, which eventually landed at 70,000 naira. You recall that there was a strike and they had to shut down the national grid. Even the most recent one, the face-off between Dangote Refinery and Pengasa. You can see the implication now. Prices of gas have gone up. Even NNPC was affected. Price of PMS has gone up. So in balancing the role of government with the liberty of the citizens. It's not really a straightforward approach.
Okay.
And one would not have expected that the IG would just tell his men, oh yeah, just go back to the station, leave them. Because again, some may come in to hijack the protest
Okay.
and turn it to a different ball game. And don't forget also that recently a report came out that there was an attempted, a planned coup underground. So right now, the security
right.
Thermometer is not cold at all
At
in
all.
the country. So
Mr. Logan, before we leave the issue of the protest, I'd also like for us to take a look at the date of that Monday, which was 20th of October. And of course, it is a day also linked with the NSAS 5 years ago. So that particular date, would you also think that it will trigger something in the minds of the agitators and the security operatives themselves, not wanting to have a recall of what happened 5 years ago?
for activists, it's significant that, okay, let's recall the memory of what happened years ago, and let's also shake the government to carry out an exercise. But having said that, let's now move to the legal arena. In actual fact, Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, the defense team, is expected to open the defense in that case tomorrow. That is 23rd of October 2025. And the court has given about 6 consecutive dates to do that. Because what happened at the last sitting, so to say, the prosecution closed the case against Nnamdi Kanu after bringing in about 5 witnesses. And the court came to a conclusion that there is a case to answer.
Right.
Because the defense team on the side of Nnamdi Kanu came with a no case to answer submission, which the court rejected, that no, there's a case to answer here. So Nnamdi Kanu is expected to open his defense, because when you are arraigned in court in criminal cases, you either plead guilty, which fast tracks the whole process, and the court may now minimize the penalty or see what can be negotiated, or you plead not guilty. And he pleaded not guilty. And if you look at section 36 of section 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states that in such a criminal matter that the allegations must be proved beyond all reasonable doubt. So as we speak right now, Nnamdi Kanu is innocent, but he is going through a trial. And the prosecution is now saying, we have established a case against him. And the court cannot conclude unless he opens his own defense. So a school of thought is of the position that the legal team of Kanu, that they are not ready to open a defense. In fact, it may not be known to many. While the court said that open your defense, the defense team requested that the court should grant them access to a private dialogue with Nnamdi Kanu outside the premises of the SSS or DSS, whatever. Because the fear was that DSS may be recording their conversation. And the court honorably granted that request, that, okay, you can come to the court premises on so date between 9 a.m. and this, and have your discussion and be free. So right now, the ball is in the court
of the defense
of Nnamdi Kanu's team.
Okay.
And some have also argued that, oh, the Court of Appeal said it should be released. Yes, correct. The Court of Appeal quashed the allegations against him, the charges against him, and said that he should be released. But the federal government went to appeal against that. And the Supreme Court came to a conclusion that even though Nnamdi Kanu was recklessly, and that was the expression, brought to Nigeria from Kenya by the government, this is a civil matter. His legal team could have instituted a legal suit on that. But there are criminal charges against him. Initially, they were 15, reduced to 7. And that his trial should continue. So the Supreme Court has knocked off
the release by the appeal court.
Yeah, exactly. So these are issues. So, and the complicated aspect here is that if you look at Section 1 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that this constitution shall be supreme and binding on all parties and institutions in the country. The president's hands are tied right now. Even though there are political lobbying and advocacy for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, which is possible, because the Attorney General can withdraw the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. But now, will it not appear that those who are protesting are trying to twist the government to intervene? Because the government will just say, we are not the judiciary.
Right.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by virtue of Section 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, is vested with the executive power to manage the country. He is not the Chief Justice. He's not the, you know what I mean? So you just say, let justice have its course. So it's, and again, in the course of the trial, there was a time Nnamdi Kanu himself stepped down his lawyer in court and addressed Honorable Justice Binta Nyako to recuse herself, that she's not respecting the ruling of the Supreme Court and things like that, you know, and told his lawyer to keep quiet. You see, law is not about drama. Law is law. And if you understand the body language of what is going on, I think the federal government has now decided that, okay, let the law have its way. Because you recall that another thing that was prompted before the court was that, Nnamdi Kanu is not fit to stand trial, medically fit, that a professor of medicine gave that report. And the court constituted a powerful team from the NMA.
Right.
And the NMA has returned to court to say he is fit to stand for trial because he was asking to be released, to be taken to the hospital.
Conditions.
And again, let's go back to history. IPOB was established in 2012 by Nnamdi Kanu and one Mefo. That name is not even so prominent, you know, but it's there. We call it content analysis. And why was it formed? To, you know, reactivate the agitation that led to the Civil War of 1967. And the southeastern part was reintegrated into Nigeria when the war ended in 1970. And Nnamdi Kanu set up the Biafra radio in the UK, invading the space of Nigeria. So when President Muhammad Buhari, former president, was elected into office, when Nnamdi Kanu, you know, that matter came up, I was also involved in the analysis. At the time, the government was warning, and I said, you cannot tell where the line between peaceful agitation and violent agitation is. I can remember. So eventually, he was arrested, and at the time, he was granted bail, having Honorable Senator Abaribe as the surety. But you know that when his home country was invaded by the military, you know, he lost some relations then. He jumped bail.
Right.
You see, so, and that is why when he requested for bail again, the court said no, we cannot grant that bail. He jumped bail, and somehow he was brought into Nigeria from Kenya in a manner that the Supreme Court has even declared to be reckless. But that is a civil matter. That is a diplomatic matter. Now there are treasonable felony charges and terrorism charges against him. And don't also forget that the IPOB Nnamdi Kanu created was proscribed by the government of Muhammadu Buhari. And a high court in Enugu debunked that proscription, but it was reinstated by a higher court. So these are issues. And I personally believe that this issue can be resolved politically. But at the same time, like I said, the president is occupying a very sensitive stage now. If he is released, will it be because of the protest? Or will some not start saying that, okay, he has gone to tamper with the cause of justice? Because, you see, we have a heterogeneous populace in Nigeria. We are talking about Southeast now. The northern people also are agitating and saying, okay, if you are giving that approach, then you know there are several issues, sincerely speaking. But from what I have seen, from my legal mind, I think a strong case has been established. So it's now a matter of, and that's why the team is saying, let's meet this Nnamdi Kanu and see how we can move from here. But it is still within the power of the federal government to drop the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. Again, you know, and for those who are heavily inclined to political considerations, they may say that, I mean, now that there are defections here and there, and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, is interested in 2027, that it may be used as a political tool or whatever. And some governors from that region and some stakeholders are beginning to lobby for that. So it's a serious issue. But again, we must consider the fact that, given the antecedents of Nnamdi Kanu, drama in court and things, jumping bail and everything, the federal government, even if a political solution will be brought in, needs to be assured that he will collaborate. I mean, it's a crucial point.
Oh, okay, you mentioned something earlier, saying that members of the Take It Back movement are trying to twist the federal government into releasing.
I didn't say they are trying to arm twist.
Okay,
I said it should be perceived as arm twisting.
Okay.
And of course, you see, that's another thing again. The issue of NSAS is a movement. So even though it was terminated brutally, the way it was terminated with the follow-up denials, it's still a movement. And the big question is there still police brutality in Nigeria?
Sure.
I'll leave you to answer that question.
Okay. While I'm thinking about the answer for that question, there are sentiments in some quarters being expressed by people that what actually gave members of Take It Back movement the confidence to demand for the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu was the presidential pardon and clemency that we saw recently, wherein different kind of characters were pardoned by Mr. President. Do you share that sentiment as well?
In public relations, we call it perception. Some of us have issues with the pardon because, in fact, the presidency is now evaluating some of the beneficiaries of the pardon. And in public relations, we have advised that before government proceeds to take a decision or come up with policies, it should be well thought out. But we've seen in this country how some dead people were appointed or nominated for appointment. So that is there. And it's a critical point. It's challenging the accountability and the transparency of the government. And let me say this again. On the constitutional platform, those who were pardoned were presented to the Council of State. If you look at Section 153 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, there is provision for the Council of State involving past presidents, leaders, you know, the Attorney General and some top stakeholders who are to advise the government on policies and things like that and to give consent, because it wasn't just the pardon. Also, the nomination of Professor Amupiton as the INEC chairman. So the Council of State gave the approval. But trust Nigerians, they will scrutinize the beneficiaries of the pardon. And they are saying, you know, some characters should not have. But is it a new thing? The day the former governor of Plateau State, Dariye, that his conviction was confirmed by the Supreme Court. We were also in the Supreme Court that day. He lost his appeal. We won our own to the glory of God. But at the end of the day, he was having been listed as, you know, a governor, former governor, convicted for crime, At the end of the day, he got a state pardon. So these are issues. And what Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says is that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. We are even talking of those who have been convicted or whatever, getting state pardon and things like that. What about, where is better I do? We keep asking. You know, prima facie cases. Recently, one Dr. Nanji, former minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, was roped into this forgery scandal and certificate. So these are issues. So we have a huge assignment here to clean up the space. And the government should be seen to be exercising the governance power in the interest of the nation and for the benefit of the majority of the citizens. And that is when the trust capital can be earned by the government. But right now it appears that the perception is that judgment is for the people, and then just, how did they say it?
Right,
That is, you know, some high and mighty are just there doing anything they like.
Judging from the antecedent of the days Kano has had in court, you mentioned earlier the days that he has, you know, spat on the judges, asked them to recuse themselves on the case. One or two judges have had to say, well, I don't want to get involved in this. And then others are also saying that there's the possibility that he is not being given a fair hearing. And from what you also said, hopefully by tomorrow, his defense lawyers, if available in court, should then start their case of defense. But if you look at it constitutionally and what the law of the land says, do you believe that that allegation of him not getting fair hearing is true or could be true?
You know, when you talk about fair hearing is that you have given the platform to defend yourself.
Right.
When Sarawiwa and
the other
his associates were executed, they were not given fair hearing. It's a clear case, you know. They also benefited from the recent state pardon. But Nnamdi Kanu has been, you see, I have advised as a lawyer, and I have echoed it here this morning. Law is not about drama. It can be dramatic once in a while between lawyers. For instance, you bring an engineer to the witness box and to knock him off, you ask him to define velocity before the honorable judge. And the man says velocity and reacts in a very unfriendly manner. You can tell the judge that, my lord, an engineer that cannot define velocity may mislead this honorable court. Those are technical dramas.
Right.
But not the kind of drama, because what Nnamdi Kanu has been putting in this space is that he doesn't care. And that is why he may not be trusted to be on the side of peace, even if issues are negotiated. But I believe, because beyond this legal, even though in criminal matters, it's difficult. We have alternative dispute resolution.
Right.
Things can be negotiated, you see. And so those are the issues. The court must have it, and that is why it's taking the way it's taking. Now, he said that Honorable Binta Nyako should recuse herself
from the case.
The prosecuting counsel appealed to the Honorable Justice that don't do that. But she willingly dropped the file that I'm out of this. Now it's before another justice. You see, so you are not in control of the judicial machinery.
Right.
You only have a defense team. And now, on the scale of judicial processes, the government is saying, we have presented 5 witnesses to prove that you have a case to answer. You are now given that fair hearing opportunity. Defend yourself. Call your own witnesses. Debunk the position of the prosecution. What else is fair hearing all about? And that's why, for instance, I'm also wondering the effect this we have, the protest we have on the judicial process. You recall that when President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the elections and some parties went to the election tribunal. We read different kind of things, publishing pictures of justices, threatening some of them, calling names and everything. Did it affect the decisions?
Not at all.
It did not. That's what we are talking about. And in court, even your demeanor is profiled by the judge. And that's why we advise people, even when lawyers are asking you some questions that may make you angry, comport yourself. Even though sometimes also you answer in a way that you are not implicating yourself, because it can be dramatic out there. So these are the issues. And right now, recently, I read something that Nnamdi Kanu was prescribing somebody to negotiate for him. You see, the government is powerful.
Yeah.
Nobody can take that away from the government. And if people are lobbying and trying to see what can be brought on the table to have a political solution, as we call it in Nigeria, and you, the direct personality involved, you are, operating as if you cannot be bothered, it makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult. But if you ask me, I want this matter laid
To rest.
And then, this enough is enough of this agitation. And the government also should learn. Why are people agitating? Because of economic injustice. Let me put it that way. If we have commonwealth for common good, who cares? Who will be shouting marginalization? So we need good governance in this country. And it has to do with leadership. That's why in my response to the Northern elders when they also came out recently to talk about marginalization, I said, no, you should not talk about marginalization, because out of about 16 slots of leadership of Nigeria, you people have occupied like 9. So what have you done for your people? So it can be any region. Okay. So let's have a nationalistic development approach. So is anybody shouting marginalization in Singapore or in Luxembourg or in Monaco or in Sweden or Norway? No. Or Switzerland? No way.
Okay, so if at all the federal government is going to embrace a political solution to this problem of Nnamdi Kanu, how careful should the federal government be? Because you rightly pointed out earlier that we have seen some lobbying coming from the eastern part of the country, appealing to the federal government to temper justice with mercy in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. So how careful should the federal government be so that people will not read meaning to it that it was out of desperation of Mr. President for 2027. That is why he's trying to shift gears now to the lobbying of those leaders from that part.
People will always talk. In a country of over 200 million citizens, you cannot, and put it down in writing, you cannot do anything that will attract 90% support, except suddenly we have uninterrupted power supply in Nigeria, pump price of petrol is 50 naira per liter, job for people, unemployment benefits, good care of the old. Yes, you may have about 90% clap for government. Even with that, the oil thieves will be angry. You can see what Dangote is going through. Trying to float and sustain the biggest refinery in Africa. And some people are, and trying to give us a breakthrough in the supply chain. Some are saying, no, you have come to tamper. So in the human community, even Jesus could not win 90% support of when he was here on earth. So the government should just sit down, look at the peace of this country, the prosperity of this country, the unity of this country, and let's move forward. There are some distractions that are unnecessary. Some distractions are unnecessary, and you have to take a decision to just move beyond it. There are issues in Nigeria, and unfortunately, this matter has brought us to the point of what we call enculturation in public relations. For instance, now in the southeastern part of the country, we have the culture of crime, kidnapping. It's very unfortunate, and some have associated it with the agitation for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And I have said it, and I hope I will be wrong. I prayerfully pray I'll be wrong because I did that on the scale of analysis. That even when Nnamdi Kanu is released, the crime rate, I won't talk about the rate, the established crimes in that region, it will take a while to wipe it off. That is why, if you notice, in South Africa, we still have unreported incidents of crime because what led to the breakdown of apartheid involved violence.
Right.
So after the freedom from apartheid, that violence, innate adoptions were still there. So
okay. All right. We need to go now. But finally, before we go, there are reports that Nnamdi Kanu's lead counsel or lawyer is still remanded in Kuje prisons. And if truly they are to open their defense tomorrow, what does this portend for his case?
Ejimako is a special counsel to Nnamdi Kanu.
Okay.
The counsel for the defense is a senior advocate of Nigeria, Agabi.
Okay, so is okay.
I doubt if there will be any issue on that.
All right.
And let me also say there is no law that says a lawyer cannot protest, but there are issues to resolve. And I started by saying, while exercising your rights are also subject to the rights of others. But by and large, my big country, my loving Nigeria, particularly our president, please look at the distractions and the consequences, the cost of the matter we are discussing this morning, and see how we can reintegrate the whole nation to have sense of patriotism and where we can have socioeconomic justice. And I believe these agitations will go there. It's not just in Nigeria that people agitate.
All right. We need to leave this here. Thank you so much, Jide Ologun, for finding time to be with us here on the program this morning. We appreciate your thoughts.
God bless Nigeria.
That's the much we take on this side of the table this morning. We'll take a break. The conversation continues shortly.